You know. Christmas is a time for celebration and enjoying your time with your loved ones. Unfortunately, sometimes it leads to a pretty bad story, or in this case, a horror story. And oh, what a tale it is. So, without any further ado, let's roll for initiative and see how far this train wreck goes. Hello all. I have been telling this story to anyone who will listen for the entire last year. Today, while reading a few of the stories here, I realized I actually had something to contribute. It's a little long, because it spanned the better part of 2018 before culminating right before Christmas. Allow me to describe the cast and set the scene. No names or real names. Me. Relatively new to tabletop role-playing games, but super eager because I never had a regular group before. Dylan, a true veteran of tabletop, played the original D&D and numerous other systems, probably owns around $15,000 worth of dice and books. Maybe more. Nice enough guy, just kind of a grouch, but in an endearing sort of way. Jabba, Dylan's wife, a cow lady who makes Dylan do everything. Cooking, cleaning, taking care of 3 kids, working 40 hours a week while she stays home and pretends to look for jobs, while actually just playing MMORPGs all day. Never wants to be a player, only a DM. Complains and moans loudly when we play games, where she's not the DM, because she has to have all of Dylan's attention. The other 3 players don't really have much bearing on the story at all. Honestly, they just tend to go with the flow, to not upset Jabba, mostly. I decide to run Alternity, and make it a post-apocalyptic setting. I make it very clear that it's a harsh world and actions have consequences. Sometimes severe consequences. But I let them know I will never let them flail in the wind, and there will always be an out of some sort, even if they come out pretty busted and bruised. I pride myself on being able to adapt to craziness and wild players, so I let them know that they can actually do whatever they want, but to expect the consequences. As usual, Jabba doesn't want to play because she can't be God. After a few sessions, everyone is loving it. Dylan tells me that the group hasn't been this excited about a campaign in a while. He's a pretty serious guy and quite the grouch, so this compliment means something to me. They even asked Jabba right in the open if she wouldn't mind relinquishing next week's get-together so they can continue with mine. Dylan even says, "You did say we were kind of getting burned out." Jabba agrees, kind of reluctantly, but says only on the condition that she can play too. Once again, I take this as a sign that the campaign is going great. So I help her make a character, and start working on ways to tie her into the plot that is already forming. Unfortunately, she just wants to basically be a super badass assassin who is also a 12-year-old girl. Okay, no, but we could bump her up to like 18 since, for plot reasons, there aren't any children. She throws a fit and begins complaining about how she should have known better than to try and join someone else's game and blah blah blah. I relent, and we meet in the middle at a 15-year-old because I just really wanted to get back to the campaign. So, a little background. In the beginning, all players had to retrieve their smuggled gear. Plot reasons. Sometimes having to do a favor to acquire it all. The entire first 5-hour session was spent doing this for the other 4 players. But I let them know that it would be streamlined for her because we didn't want to hold the game up any more than we already had. So it's pretty simple. A merchant had found her gear and was holding it for ransom. The rest of the group was willing to help her get it by stealing it during the night, by distracting him and his guards. Apparently, that's not what she would do. So, she proceeds to start breaking this merchant's things and destroying the tent his shop was set up in. So the merchant shuts down, has his many guards hold everyone at gunpoint, and escape. To adapt and on the spot, decide that as they are fleeing this little area, a group of truly terrifying bad guys show up, and the merchant is forced to ask the PCs for help in exchange for the gear and something extra. A fight erupts and Jabba proceeds to attack the merchant during the chaos. "She always gets revenge," Jabba says. So, the group that was going to act as helpful NPCs during the fight outright flee with her gear, and the group is left with this tribe of very brutal enemies and are outnumbered. The fight goes as you might expect, with the PCs being beaten up pretty badly and on the road to dying, if they don't let this group take them as slaves. I planned on having them escape before this happened. Jabba has a meltdown about being captured. The entire night turns to crap because she won't let us continue playing. She won't quit or let herself be killed. The night is just over. Since we are at hers and Dylan's house, the group just disperses for the week. After a few weeks of cooldown, Jabba agrees that it could have all went better, but never apologized, and says that she wants to make a new character, but only if they can start completely over. The group is super hopeful, and looks to me with bright, shiny eyes hoping I'm okay with starting over. Foolishly, I do, because I didn't know that no tabletop is better than crappy tabletop. I set up again. Everyone says that they want new characters because now they know more about the world, and want to connect it all to the events that happened in the previous failed campaign. There are plenty of nods to previous characters and returning NPCs, etc. I'm a sucker for stuff like that, so it was all fun building it again, to be honest. Everyone is super stoked and happy with their characters, even Jabba. So the session 0 is completed, and I eagerly await next week so we can play again. I get there on the day of the new campaign, and Jabba very casually says, "Yeah, I don't really want to play anymore." So, the rest of us play, now very disheartened that the original momentum we had built up was gone. I left the group a few sessions later, after Jabba demonized me for turning the others against her. Apparently, Dylan said something to her one night about how much he enjoyed the first game and really wanted to see if they could go back to that one. Jabba told everyone that I was poisoning the group and making her the bad guy. I have a much better group now. Everyone's chill. Still frequently see Dylan from time to time, and he usually says, "Hey, we really want to have you over again to run that campaign someday." And I kind of just tune him out. End post. Well then, this was one of those rare horror stories where the fault lies on two players. You see, it didn't quite sit well with me how the OP described Jabba in all of those negative ways without letting the story do that talking for us, which in my opinion is in quite poor taste. But there's no denying that Jabba was an issue with the story. What with how she wasn't willing to compromise, became a bit of a that guy, or in this case, a that woman, and then ultimately caused the entire campaign to reset, only to not show. So she's also clearly an issue, but I'm not going to discredit OP as also being part of the problem. Frankly put, I don't think he should be just avoiding Dylan. This was no reason to lose a friend or friend group over. So honestly, I think OP should give them another chance, and just lay some ground rules, as it's clear that the slander from Jabba really didn't do the job that she was wanting it to do. Anyhow, that's all for today's story. As always, you can find the author of this story in the description below, and if you like the video and you want to see more videos just like this one, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon in order to be notified of my future videos. Speaking of new videos, I will see you all in the new year for the next release. And while you wait for that future video, here are a few related videos that you can watch in the meantime.